Today is Wednesday, July 8th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we will be finishing the Doctor's Opinion, Roman numeral 32, I believe. Out of the 12 and 12, we will continue step 1 and read the rest of page 21. And of course, read Just for Today and Courage to Change. So with that, hope you all are doing well this morning, my friends. Life is good over here. I got another giant cup of coffee in my Ninja Turtles mug. And just woke up sober and happy, joyous, and free. You know, I had an opportunity yesterday to make amends for something. It was one of those things I think I made amends for years ago, maybe, but I couldn't remember if I had or not. So an opportunity presented itself yesterday, and I was able to make direct amends. And, you know, this is a family member, and long story short, we ended up becoming even closer thanks to these amends than we ever have been before. And, you know, I'm always reminded of that Fred Rogers quote, you know, one thing that evil cannot stand is forgiveness. I'm so thankful for these steps. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to them. Let's get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So if you recall from yesterday's reading out of the Doctor's Opinion, we have gotten two powerful examples of this psychic change that Dr. Silkworth was talking about that seems to be essential for these folks' recovery. Now, Dr. Silkworth, he's been working at Towns Hospital for quite some time. He's the director at this point, and he's seen a lot of tragedy. So for him to endorse this new movement of the program of recovery and the fellowship along with it, that speaks volumes. So he says, unless there's a psychic change, for a real alcoholic, there's little hope for him. So he talks about one man. The first man he talks about on page Roman numeral 31 was Hank Parkhurst. Hank, he's the one who wrote To Employers and The Unbeliever in, I think it was the first edition of the Big Book. And Fitz Mayo, he is the one who writes in the personal stories, The Pioneers, Our Southern Friend. So his life is clearly unmanageable. And a search party finally finds him hiding out in a barn, taking him to a hospital. He gives Dr. Silkworth, he said, hey, unless I can get the willpower to resist the impulse to drink, there's no hope for me. Dr. Silkworth's not feeling so good about this. But there is hope. And again, this reinforces the idea of that psychic change. So we got in this chapter, the obsession of the mind explained, the physical allergy or the phenomenon of craving, and then finally, the necessary psychic change that the doctor says is essential to recovery. So let's go ahead and finish off these last two itty-bitty paragraphs. Roman numeral 32. However, he did become sold on the ideas contained in this book. He has not had a drink for a great many years. I see him now and then, and he's as fine a specimen of manhood as one could wish to meet. I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through, and though perhaps he came to scoff, he may remain to pray. William D. Silkworth, M.D. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on step 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. If you recall from the first two paragraphs, who likes to admit that they're powerless over anything and that their lives are unmanageable? So today we're going to get, in these next two paragraphs, well, once again, some hope. Third paragraph of page 21. But upon entering AA, we soon take quite another view of this absolute humiliation. We perceive that only through utter defeat are we able to take our first steps toward liberation and strength. Our admissions of personal powerlessness finally turn out to be the firm bedrock upon which happy and purposeful lives may be built. We know that little good can come to any alcoholic who joins AA unless he has first accepted his devastating weakness and all of its consequences. Until he so humbles himself, his sobriety, if any, will be precarious. Of real happiness, he will find none at all. Proved beyond doubt by an immense experience, this is one of the facts of AA life. The principle that we shall find no enduring strength until we first admit complete defeat is the main taproot from which our whole society has sprung and flowered. Just for today, July 8th. It's important for you to know that you will hear God mentioned at NA meetings. What we are referring to is a power greater than ourselves that makes possible what seems impossible. IP number 22, welcome to NA. Most of us come to Narcotics Anonymous with a variety of preconceptions about what the word God means, many of them negative. Yet the G word is used very regularly in NA, if not constantly. It occurs 92 times in the first 107 pages of our basic text, and appears prominently in a third of our 12 steps. Rather than sidestep the sensitivity many of us feel toward the word, let's address it head on. It's true that Narcotics Anonymous is a spiritual program. Our 12 steps offer a way to find freedom from addiction through the help of a spiritual power greater than we are. The program, however, doesn't tell us anything about what we have to think about that power. In fact, over and over again, in our literature and our steps and our meetings, we hear it said, the God of our understanding, whatever that understanding may be. We use the word God because it's used in our basic text, and because it communicates most effectively to most people a basic understanding of the power underlying our recovery. The word we use for the sake of convenience. The power behind the word, however, we use for more than convenience. We use that power to maintain our freedom from addiction and to ensure our ongoing recovery. Just for today, whether I believe in God or not, I will use the power that keeps me clean and free. Courage to Change, July 8th. I remember as a child climbing trees to better observe a nest of baby birds, and lying on my back, wondering what it would be like to fall into a sky full of clouds. I still have deeply spiritual feelings when I am out in nature, and today I think I know why. One of Al-Anon's basic principles is living one day at a time, and nature surrounds me with wonderful role models. Trees don't sit around and worry about the forest fires. The water in the pond doesn't fret over the turbulence it encountered a few miles upstream. And I have never seen a butterfly pry into the affairs of its fellows. All of creation is going about the business of living. If I keep my eyes open, I can learn to do the same. Today's reminder. A great deal can be learned as a result of painful circumstances, but they are not my only teachers. I live in a world full of wonders. Today, I will pay attention to their gentle wisdom. I discover the secret of the sea in Meditation Upon a Dewdrop. Khalil Gibran. All right, my friends, that concludes today's reading, and man, some beautiful stuff. Holy cow. So I'm going to try to make this as brief as I can. Famous last words, I know. But in the big book. However, he did become sold on the ideas contained in this book. Talk about Fitzmayo, right? He's not had a drink for a great many years. I love this last paragraph. I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through and through. And though perhaps he came to scoff, he may remain to pray. That is a heck of an endorsement. But for somebody who's been on the front lines as a physician, for him to endorse this book really speaks volumes. And to explain the allergy and the mental obsession as well, go into the 12 and 12. To admit that we're powerless, that sounds so contradictory. And it sounds almost cowardly, right? To admit that we're powerless over anything. But just as the 12 and 12 says, we're not giving up. We're giving in to something that's going to lead us to freedom. That takes strength. In my experience, to be humble takes strength. To admit, you know what, I'm not an expert at this. I think I need help. And by asking for help, the loving arms of AA have reached out and took me in an embrace, and I met certain people that gave me some advice, gave me their time, and I was able to work the steps. And on the other side of it, as the 12 and 12 talks about, we perceive that only through utter defeat are we able to take our first steps toward liberation and strength. And our mission of personal powerlessness finally turned out to be the firm bedrock upon which happy and purposeful lives may be built. For me, it's giving up the control that I never had in the first place. If anything, I was a slave to alcohol. It was controlling me. So I deeply needed help. And I thought it was just going to be not drinking, right? But on the other side of it, I found liberation and freedom. And I do have a joyous and purposeful life today. And it's all a matter of perspective. My expectations growing up is I'm going to be a famous writer, I'm going to make millions of dollars and all these things. And that hasn't happened yet. I still write though. But I don't view myself as a failure. I don't view life as boring. Just like the Courage to Change says, I can look around the world and I see life with awe and wonder. As a matter of fact, just before recording this, it's so funny. I hadn't read this reading ahead of time or anything. I just scheduled on our little calendar with the family my next day hike. I love being out in the woods. I've loved being out in the woods ever since I was a kid. And I didn't know why back then, but I think I know why now. It's because I feel connected to nature, to my higher power. And I can look at the stream and I can look at the trees and the animals and just like the reading says, they don't worry about the next day or anything like that. And in the big book, I know it's mentioned somewhere, consider the lilies of the field. They don't fret over whether they're going to eat or whether they're going to drink or anything like that. How much more does my Heavenly Father love me? Why worry? It's a waste of time. If anything, it's a killer. It takes time off of our lives. I don't know. I can see God in creation as well. And I just thought this was about not drinking. Crazy stuff. But my friends, that's all we have time for today. As always, please know I don't speak on behalf of AA, NA, Al-Anon, any other sect or denomination. I am just a joyful drunk in this lifeboat of recovery. Honored to be here today. And also, I just want you to know that if you're sober today, you're a miracle. And you're giving a great gift to all those around you. And you have a unique superpower to help the next suffering alcoholic. And if you're not sober today and somehow you're hearing this, I want you to know that you're loved and you're a miracle as well. I pray that today you would have the willingness to make the first step toward change. And you don't have to do it alone. We've got your back. And we love you and we're here for you. And as always, my friends, if we're getting another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here